Good morning, everybody. This is Meridoc. Joining me is my co-host and bestest buddy of all time, Mr. Osborne.
It is I. We are back again on this, the 4th of July. The 4th of July here.
Yeah. So, instead of going outside like every other normal red-blooded American, here we are in the stifling heat. It's actually kind of cool in here, I'm just exaggerating. Of Oz's living room, recording.
Yeah, it's actually really nice outside. I was just outside. I took my dog outside to relieve himself before we began the podcast here so that maybe he won't interrupt us.
He's going to interrupt us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what editing is for.
Yeah, and, that thing I rarely do.
Yeah, but I was just outside and I was like, man, it's really nice. I sure am glad that we're going to sit down and record the podcast now.
Yeah. Okay, so today's topic, since I probably should have started with that, but fuck it. Today's topic is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I just screwed that up already.
Wow.
MMOs.
Professional.
Massively multiplayer online RPGs.
Yeah. Which most people usually call them MMOs, but it's actually...
MMORPGs.
Yeah, that's right.
Or Morpigs.
All right. That's a new one.
Yeah, I think that was Yahtzee that said that. Morpigs.
Maybe.
But yeah, so we picked a few of the ones that we both played. Pretty much our favorites and the ones that we hate the most, actually.
Yeah. and obviously, the obvious
place to start
is the originator. Let's talk about RuneScape.
Woo! RuneScape! No, not RuneScape. Oh, damn. I just looked at the audio track and I did that, and it got big. Mm-hmm. No, RuneScape we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about Ultima.
We're not going to talk about EverQuest either.
God, no, we're not.
Because I've never played it, so.
Also, I don't enjoy EverQuest that much. We're going to talk about, of course...
Send your angry letters to...
Thank you, Oz. We're going to talk about WoW. World of Warcraft, created by Blizzard in, 2004? Was that when that dropped?
Yeah, I think so, because they just had their 10-year anniversary this past year.
So, yeah.
And they gave away a Molten Corgi, which I didn't get. And
they did?
I'm totally not bitter about that at all.
Oz's dog is a Corgi. He likes them.
I do.
Alright, so... when I joined the military, I had been at my A school, which is where you go to learn your actual job. I'd been at my language school for about 6 to 7 months. My brother and his friend got into playing WoW, and they were like, "Hey, Evan, I got an idea." I'm like, "Yeah, what's up? You should play this with us." I'm like, "I'll download the trial." I downloaded the trial, and I rolled a warrior, because I was like, "Yeah, that seems fine." Little did I know that the warrior is hands down the most boring class to play. It is so ridiculously straightforward. There's nothing to it. I accidentally I think after my first 2 hours of playing, I accidentally jumped on the airship in Tearsfall Glades, headed down to Stranglethorn Vale, fell off the airship before I got to Booty Bay, and was stranded in the jungle. I didn't even know what a Hearthstone was yet. Like, I ended up getting my brother, who was level 19 and not at all ready to come down to Stranglethorn Vale to try and come down and save my ass. Didn't work, by the way. And then he's like, "Why don't you just Hearth?" I was like, "What's that?" And the look he gave me, because he was in the room with me, he just glared at me, and I felt like such a small little man.
So you must have played Undead then, if you were in Tearsfall Glades.
I did play Undead. That was my very first class. I stopped playing for a week after that, because I just wasn't enjoying it.
Right.
And then, of course, naturally the trial ran out, and he looks at me a week later and he's like, "You need to play, actually. Buy the game." I'm like, "What? Just buy the game. It's better. It's better this way." And one thing led to another, and I ended up rolling a Tauren Druid named Yeying, and oh boy did we have fun. How about you, Oz? How'd you get started in the game?
I actually started...
I know how this story starts.
Yeah. It started when was this? Was this still when we were...
2011-ish?
Yeah. I had just moved out, and I was looking for something to do, and everybody, you and I think even Bruno at this point, was playing WoW. We're playing WoW, And it was summer, because this always happens to me every single summer. I get bored
during the dry spell of video game releases.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I'm like, look at all this great stuff that's going to come out in September. What am I going to do until then? And because I'm such a hardcore gamer, self-plug there, because I'm such a hardcore gamer, I beat the hell out of everything that I have. And so
I remember there was a period you only had like 12 video games, and you completely destroyed all of them.
I had beaten the hell out of all of them. Now I have a ridiculous selection, and I still am like, what am I going to play today?
You sound like you inherited my my illness.
It's a first world problem. It really is.
It really is.
But here's the difference, Evan, is that I've actually beaten all my games. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Or actually played all your games.
Yeah. I've actually opened them. Evan finds unopened games all the time.
I didn't know I had this.
Do I have that? I don't know.
I think I've got that.
I think I have that. But anyway, back to WoW. So Evan invited me to download the trial. My wife is like, "What are you doing, you idiot? You're not playing WoW. That's for nerds." And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to try it. Why not?" I started playing. I rolled a undead priest, and I named him G-Zombie because I thought that was hilarious when I was, 20? 21? 21. And so I'm like, G-Zombie, because it's Zombie Jesus. This will be hilarious.
Yeah.
I played for maybe 3 days, and I was like, alright, this game is awful. It looks like crap. And I was just like, I'm done with this. I quit playing, and then, hilariously enough, my wife started playing that character. I probably brought him to level 16, maybe. I don't even think I ever ran a dungeon. And my wife brought that character all the way to 85 eventually. We started playing probably, I guess that would have been, it was late Wrath, I think.
Yeah, late Wrath.
And
it was after they had already created the matchmaking.
Yeah, thank God for that, too.
No, you missed out on one of the best parts of old WoW. But, so you ended up getting back into it?
Yeah, I can't tell you exactly when I came back, but I actually played a Tauren as well.
Yeah.
When I came back, I rolled
Tauren Warrior.
Yeah. His name was Meatball.
I remember Meatball.
He was a blue ox. I played, I'd say the multitude of my WoW experience happened with that character. I did main another character because we switched servers constantly.
Oh, I remember.
Mostly because of Bruno. I started playing on Argent Dawn because I got a free 80. And so I made a before, this was right before Mists, I made a dwarf warrior named Stoutbeard. And he was cool, but I would never actually main a dwarf, so I just made him kind of as a joke character because he was a placeholder for when I was going to play monk. Because if you guys know anything about me, you know that I love to punch things in games, and so I was like, monk, I'm all about it. I want to play Mist so badly. Here's the problem: by the time Mist came around, I did play in the beta, but by the time Mist came around, I was so out of WoW at that point. I was just like, meh, whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't even care. Everybody had quit playing again. It's the MMO syndrome, because it always happens.
Yeah.
My boss recently at work just realized that he's starting to get the syndrome of casual player syndrome, where he just realizes that a new patch just dropped in WoW. 13 raid bosses, like we were talking about last night.
Woohoo!
And he's like, that's so many raid bosses. He's like, there's so much to do, and I just don't have time to do it. And I was like, dude, welcome to MMOs. If you play an MMO, that has to be your life if you want to be hardcore, because it's not going to work any other way.
Yep.
Because you just get behind, and then you're behind, and you're behind forever. You will never catch up.
Because for all the effort that you might spend trying to catch up, there are still other people spending the exact same amount of effort trying to get even further ahead than they were.
Exactly.
So you can only fall back behind. You can never catch up.
And the worst thing about it for me is that I'm a completionist, and it's impossible. You can't even do that. I started playing, we'll talk about this later, but I started playing Final Fantasy XIV at launch, and I still was nowhere near completing that game.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about really quick WoW's game style, because very much WoW and EverQuest and those earlier games, they set the mold, but most games seem to take their cue from WoW being the vanguard for the style of game that it is. That is to say, you have your toolbar of 10, 12 buttons. Each of those has an ability that you would put on it. You know how it is.
Right.
So that game style, I don't actually like it that much, but it makes for a pretty entertaining romp in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm. I've always said, ever since I've played, again, here I go again, because this is going to be a common theme throughout this, but coming back from playing Final Fantasy XIV, I actually jumped into WoW for a little while recently.
Weeks.
Yeah, and I realized that I really do like WoW, but playing it after playing Final Fantasy XIV with a controller on my PlayStation 4, it's just it handles so much worse. Yeah. I just love playing with that controller, having that. I've never been a keyboard and mouse guy. I've never been a kind of like a really huge PC gamer, but just the handling, Square proved with Final Fantasy XIV that you can control an MMO with a controller and do it without it being a mess.
Giant mess, yeah. And that is probably, we're going to jump off topic here to address this because you brought it up and it's a good point. There's a huge marked difference between sitting in front of your your computer or your TV or whatever with your keyboard and your mouse in front of you, leaning forward or leaning back even, trying to get into it, and the incredible comfort that you can feel leaning back into your couch or your computer chair with a controller in your hand, just like resting on your lap. It feels so much more relaxed and enjoyable.
Oh, well, I remember.
And I didn't realize that until Final Fantasy XIV gave me a chance to try it. But we're talking about WoW.
That's right. That's right. I do remember that day when you bought 14 for your PS4.
Yeah.
And you were like, this is so comfortable. And I'm like, yes, it is. That's why I like that game so much. It has nothing to do with the fact they're pretty similar. I mean, obviously 14 looks better.
Yeah.
But it's just like playing the controller, it makes all the difference to me.
All right, talking about looks better. Art style for WoW. Now, WoW's art style is not just WoW's art style, it's the Warcraft art style. Blizzard's had that art style for Warcraft since Warcraft 2. I mean, the original Warcraft, Orcs vs. Humans, I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
It had it, but, you always refine the art style as it goes up in technology, or as the technology progresses. And it just got prettier and prettier until Warcraft 3, when they kind of made more 3D-looking models that had more polygons, you could really show some character definition. And that's what they brought over a lot of to the World of Warcraft. And then, of course, they updated the art style in Cataclysm, I want to say.
Yeah, well, because they had to redraw a lot of cities because so much had changed in the basic world in the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor.
Yeah.
Also, just recently, obviously, with Draenor, I think it was before Draenor, actually, a little bit before Draenor, they updated all the character models and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Not all of them, but the humans and all the basic races, I believe. Dwarves... Night elves.
They actually all look a lot better than they did. Like, the dwarves' hands actually have some definition where the fingers are instead of just looking like misshapen lumps.
Yeah, they don't look like just branches anymore.
Now, that said, because it's such a cartoony art style, one of the reasons that WoW has such incredible longevity, I think, is because of that cartoony art style. I mean, if you have a hyper photorealistic art style with your graphics, as graphics improve, that art style will very much start to look dated. It happened in EverQuest. It happens in every game.
You can see that in EverQuest, too. That's one of the things I was going to say. I've never played it, but I've seen some footage of the old game. Yep. And first of all, it looks kind of like a mess, which I can understand because it was it was pretty much
a progenitor.
Game.
It's a progenitor.
And so it was a brand new thing that nobody had really tried before. But that game, like people say WoW looks bad, that game looks bad.
Yeah.
It's not aged well at all. WoW has aged actually remarkably well. Yeah. Like, you go to places in Pandaria. I haven't been to Draenor yet, so I don't know what that looks like. But you go to places like Pandaria, and they are beautiful. Mm-hmm. Even in that engine, they still look really great.
Yes, they do. And that was the thing. Because it's a super stylized game, it doesn't have to change. It can continue to look the same, and it doesn't really matter as much.
Right.
But yeah, that was just a point I wanted to touch on. Alright, so now we come to it. Likes and dislikes about the game. What did you like about it, Corey?
I like WoW because there's so much. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just so much, especially now because they've been adding even more stuff. They have garrisons now, which sound great. I've never done them, but they sound great. Pet battling I just got into when I came back, and that was really fun. Something that you can do that has nothing to do with raiding, and you can just waste your time away doing it.
Yep.
There's just the world the way that you can travel seamlessly in areas. That's the one thing that I think WoW has over Final Fantasy 14. 14 is chopped up, whereas WoW, you can get on a mount and you can just fly, and you just go straight through.
Ever.
Yeah.
And that's also my favorite thing, is the world is a seamless, enormous world. There's so much to explore. If you're flying, you miss a lot of it. It's one thing that it's really my only complaint about them putting flying mounts in Azeroth or Kalimdor in the Eastern Kingdoms, is that you miss so much of the world when you're flying over it. But when you're running through it, when you're walking through it, you appreciate every single detail so much more.
I agree, but the only problem is that there's really they don't give you any sort of reason to do that. Well, yeah. There's no reason to walk other than just to explore. You can do archaeology, you can do like your collection, but most people have that stuff maxed out, you know. So there's no point. I understand flying, you know. The people who want to explore are going to explore on foot. They're not going to fly around, you know. So it's a game. It's a clever choice because, you know, it's a choice. You can either choose to fly there. Plus, not to mention, their flight paths still garbage.
Yeah,
still just awful.
But they were never really meant to be like. They were never meant to be a free roaming thing. They were just meant to get you from point A to point B faster than walking or riding.
Right, but I still just don't understand. But they don't, like some of the ones, especially near Stormwind, make no sense. Because you fly into Stormwind and then you go around and you go back out of Stormwind. And it's like, why doesn't it just... It's 2015. You guys just released a huge patch and you're doing all this stuff. Why can't you just fix that? Like, that's a huge problem to me that I've never liked. And when they said that they weren't going to have flying in the new expansion, I was like, okay, that's great. Did you fix flight paths? Because they're garbage.
Okay. So now we know what you dislike is flight paths. One of the things I dislike a lot is going to be, genuinely, I hate shitty, or the shitty matchmaker. I know people love it. I know people think, oh, wow, and MMOs in general were incomplete before this. But you know what it means? It means that you don't know anybody. Part of the beauty of having just a lobby that you jumped into and then you saw a name and you were like, hey, man, we've played before. You want to play again? Yeah, cool, let's do that. And it was only on one server. When that was a thing, you knew the people that you were leveling with. You knew everybody on your server, especially if you were on a tiny server like I was. I was on Onyxia when I started, which is like the backwoods of World of Warcraft. Like, that's where you start hearing banjos play. But it was just as amazing. It really made you feel the community more when you knew people by name. You knew what class they were. You knew if they were good at what they were supposed to be doing. And it also encouraged you to be better because no one was going to play with you if you sucked and if they knew your name.
That's true. That's very true. And that's why I'm glad that WoW implemented the same thing that Final Fantasy 14 has, the party maker system, where you can put up a thing that says, okay, this group is for this. If you want to join, you can just click this and join.
The party finder. Right.
Yeah. It's great. I love that that's a thing that they have.
Okay.
Because that I always thought was great about Final Fantasy 14. Sure, you can queue for this stuff, but you can also go, hey, especially with the newer raids, they can be like, hey, we're running this raid. We're going to do this, this, and this. This is for this. You can do farm groups and everything like that. So there's no confusion. No. There's no random queuing for something and getting into a group where they're like, no, we're trying to get a specific achievement, and you don't know how to do it, and they're like, okay, and they just boot you, and then you're back to, square one.
I also don't know if we actually needed the cross-server matchmaking. Like, I understand that it was to enable you to have a greater pool of players to match with, but if that was such a big problem, why didn't you just downsize the number of servers that you had? I know you did it. They did it once, probably late Lich King, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But they could have just kept doing it. I mean, SWTOR did it a couple of times.
I hate that only because for some reason, every single morning, and I kind of know why it is, because I used to wake up early to play. It'd be like 6 a.m. in the morning. I'd wake up to play, and I'd get matched with players from different regions. I'd get matched with like Goldrin people, which is like a South American deal. It's like a South American server. And so I'm in there with people who are speaking Portuguese and can't understand what I'm saying. And they're talking to me, and I can't understand them, And so it's just it was kind of nightmarish in that way because it happened to me 12.5 times.
Yep. No, that was I actually always thought it was kind of interesting getting matched with people like that, but I understand the problem. Yeah, it is a pain in the ass.
Well, it's a problem when you're running Dead Mines and you keep wiping on Cookie.
I think it's a problem when you run Dead Mines. Period.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate.
Oh, I know. I remember you rage quit.
I don't rage quit.
You absolutely rage quit. You were tanking. I remember.
Well, I don't remember this at all.
You were bear tanking.
And,
and the other DPS was just hounding the fuck out of you, and you're like, "No, you know what? I'm done. I'm not doing this dungeon anymore, guys. I can't do it." And we're like, "All right," because you're right. You don't usually do that, and so we were just kind of like, "Oh, all right, bye, Evan." We finished the dungeon. We got a new tank. You were still in Skype with us, I think.
I don't remember. I mean, I probably did. That sounds like something I would do if someone was giving me that much shit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And don't worry, and it's not just WoW. It's every game.
Yep. But we're going to move on from WoW.
We are.
We've expressed our feelings about it. Now we're going to talk about a game that we like. Final Fantasy XIV.
A game that I literally have nothing bad to say about this game.
Now, we mentioned it back when we were talking about Final Fantasies. We were going to talk about this game during this episode because it's an MMO, right? But despite being an MMO in the same vein as WoW, in the same vein as EverQuest, because it's the same gameplay style, it somehow manages to come off as just so much more polished.
Oh, yeah.
So much prettier, and it still, despite it all, feels like a Final Fantasy game.
It does. And I heard, actually, I haven't played Heaven's Ward yet, because obviously they just released their first expansion, which was huge. It was a huge expansion. They just released that. I heard that story, the story of Heaven's Ward, it makes you feel like you're playing a Final Fantasy game. Like, really, It's really singular.
More so than talking to Minfilia?
Yeah. They said, a lot of people have said that it feels so good. It's so rewarding. It has a payoff, I heard, which is good.
Okay. So, how did we get into Final Fantasy again, Corey? I know I started playing it in Hawaii when I was stationed out there, as I start playing all my games when I was in Hawaii.
We played it day one.
We did.
We all played it day
one. What happened was Bruno and I started playing it during early access. I got Bruno to play it early access. I think I bought his copy of the game.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Because you bought 2 copies.
Yeah. Which was an accident.
Yes, it was.
Wink. So, some of you don't remember this, but during early access in the first month or so of the gameplay, there was a lot more players than Sony had intended.
Yeah.
Or than they had ever anticipated. And there was an error, the code of which I cannot remember. It's like 10.14.
Oh, wait, maybe it was 10.17. I think you're right.
Was it 10.17?
I think you're right.
And that error basically just said, get in queue, we're filled.
Get in queue, we're full, you're probably not going to play all day.
Because people weren't logging out.
Yeah, people were not logging out.
And there was no auto logout system implemented at the time, where if you went AFK, you would get booted. So instead, people just like, I got to go to work, but if I get back home, I'm not going to be able to get back on.
So I'm just going to stay. Yeah, I'm just going to stay logged in.
So they just wait in town, and it was ridiculous. So over the course of the next month, Sony and Square ended up just expanding their data centers a lot.
They did.
I think they did it a couple of times.
It was crazy. Well, what they did is they had a server list, but then they decided that they were going to break up those server lists and put them into their own Primal World blocks.
Right.
So they moved them all into separate server areas and spread the servers out further so that they could get it to work.
Yeah.
Essentially, because it was so.
It was a giant clusterfuck. And we all ended up on this different servers because I was on a server with my friends in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And Bruno couldn't log on when he was making his character.
Yeah.
So he logged on to Marlboro.
Yes.
And then you logged on to his, and then we all ended up playing separately for like a year.
Well, see, the thing was, I was able to roll a character on Adamantoise, which is where you were.
Yeah. I
did roll a character on there.
I remember, you both did.
We both did, but then we got bored of those characters. So we're like, hey, let's go to... We couldn't get onto Marlboro originally, which is where we wanted to be. That was the server that we wanted to be on. And
you just like the tentacles, you can admit it.
Yeah, I don't need to argue that. That's on the internet.
Confirmed.
Yeah. So we rolled 2 characters on Marlboro. Plus, you weren't around. You were busy. You were in the Navy. Yep. And Bruno and I both didn't have jobs back then. No, I guess I did, because I was working at FYE, but I was working like 6 hours a week or something like that. And so I worked 1 day out of the week, and that was it. And I was like, all right, so I can find something to do. And so we started playing this. You guys got me into it, and man, it just took off for me.
Yep. First impressions of the game. What'd you think of it when you first saw it, Oz?
God, it was beautiful.
Oh, yes.
I played it on PlayStation 3 originally.
Which means you played it in significantly lower fidelity than the game is actually
absolutely.
in.
And it still was like, I was still so excited.
Yep.
Because I had heard so much about Final Fantasy XI, and people still love that game.
Yep.
Love that game.
I think they still have a population of like 20 or 25,000 people playing.
It's pretty high. And for something of that...
During peak hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they've all kind of moved. Some people didn't even want to move to 14 because they...
Well, yeah, you know how it is. MMOs. You've invested...
You invest, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that they're going to run into that problem with EverQuest, too, when they come out with EverQuest Next or whatever.
I'm actually excited for EverQuest Next because it has Oculus Rift support.
It does.
And that's one thing I really like to try as an MMO in first person.
That could be cool, yeah.
But we're talking about
Final
Fantasy. Oh, fuck. Yes. Can't wait.
Can't wait for that game.
But yeah, that was actually my first impression too, was just how stunning the game looked. And it was pretty. I had a top-of-the-line computer at the time, although my graphics card was admittedly but it was just so nice to look at. One thing I noticed was the detail on the shadows. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just a blurry shadow. It was a gorgeously rendered shadow.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
My favorite thing about it, though, was that I was sitting there. I realized I'm sitting here playing an MMO with my friends, and I'm playing on a PlayStation 3, and they're playing on a PC, and I'm sitting there going, why aren't more games like this?
And it is fantastic.
And they're like, oh, well, it would give... Back then, we didn't have PvP in Final Fantasy XIV. They're like, oh, well, it'd give the PC players an unfair advantage. And I was like, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I just want to play with my friends, and if they have super awesome PCs, which I didn't, I'm going to play on my PlayStation 3, I put the disc in, and the game plays, and that's all I need to worry about. And I'm perfectly fine with that. And the PlayStation, Sony especially, has been pushing that forward and forward and forward with more and more games that are cross-platform. PC and between the PC and the PlayStation, which is weird, because you'd think that Xbox would be more in on that, considering it's Microsoft.
Yep.
But for some reason, they're just not as into it as Sony is.
Yeah, and, you know, I think it was probably one of the most fantastic moments when I realized I'd be able to, because I knew that you wouldn't want to play it on PC.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You bought 2 PC copies, and Bruno was like, hey, Evan bought 2 PC copies of Final Fantasy XIV by accident. Do you want one? And I'm like, it's not going to run on my computer. Oh. Because I benchmarked it, and it was... you know my computer. There's no chance. Back then especially.
Yeah, he had been running on integrated graphics, and I didn't realize that he'd been running on integrated graphics the entire time.
Yep.
So we finally got him a 760 Ti, and that worked for him.
Hilariously enough.
Yeah. Thing's huge in that box.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, art style. There's other little details about that game that I've noticed.
Just gorgeous.
Besides the fact that the whole thing looks hand-painted. But,
yeah.
If you zoom in on a character model, you can see the texture on the clothing. Like, if it's made of fabric, you can see the weaving texture in it.
Yeah, no stupid painted on clothes.
Pretty to look at.
Like WoW has.
Yeah.
That's one thing that still irritates me about WoW. I look at the new gear, and it still looks like it's
just a texture.
Yeah.
It looks like it's just one, like, texture skin.
That bugs me. If WoW was ever to, like, in my mind, because I'm big focused on character, obviously. Like, that's my big thing, is how my character looks. And so it just has always bugged me. The shoulders, I know, have always been a problem for a lot of people because they're a separate thing. And Blizzard hasn't even come out and said, those are our big set pieces. Those are the things that we want people to see, so they're going to be massive.
The Pauldrons of Doom.
Yeah, they're going to be massive. They're going to be big art pieces. And people are like, those things are awful. They always look bad. Most of the time they don't fit right because they just use shrunk down and enlarged versions of them. It's just, it wasn't good. You can tell that Final Fantasy has... Square and Sony took took the time.
Much pain.
They took so much time developing. They don't have different models for every single piece of gear, but it's like they took the time to make sure that all of them
would work,
and they didn't look weird.
Yep. And it makes it shows. It shows a certain level of polish that isn't present in a lot of other MMOs.
Exactly.
As for the game style, it's still standard MMO fare. It really is.
It is.
But there's a significant difference. The difficulty of the boss fights.
Yes.
Like, the longer you play it, the less you appreciate how hard some of the early boss fights were if you're not used to working with a team.
Right.
And that's what it is. The game emphasizes teamwork and, like, situational awareness.
It really does.
A lot of MMOs, they just don't.
And we can't... This is skipping ahead a little bit, but we have to remember that this game broke that trope of MMOs where you pick your class, you're that class forever, you can't change.
Mm-hmm.
In Final Fantasy XIV, you can play every single class.
On one character.
No re-rolls, none of that crap. All you have to do is just press... For me, I had an entire bar that was just my gear sets, and you switch as a warrior... If you have an axe equipped, you're a warrior. If you equipped a sword, now you're a paladin. It was just that easy. It transitioned you instantly every single time that you equipped a weapon that was for that class.
And it works so well. I mean, and it gives you... A lot of the times in other MMOs, you have alternate tunes that you just want to run on, and that's it's just another character. When it's all in one character, you're so much more invested in that character.
And it makes you flexible, too.
Yes.
It makes it so if you have more than 150, and people are like, oh, we need a bard, and I'm like, oh, but I'm a white mage. I'm like, oh, but I have a 50 bard, and they're all right. Let's do that, and you can just switch. You can switch on the fly in raids, which is super helpful. If you need 3 healers and only 1 tank, your tank, if he's any sort of tank at all that knows anything, he's got a 50 healer, and he can switch over and just heal.
Also, tanking became the hardest job in that game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's so hard, so much harder than any other MMO I've ever played.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything was just
harder.
Everything was harder.
You have to be more aware of what the boss is doing because the boss's attack patterns are easily enough to wreck you. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what level you are. It doesn't matter what boss you're fighting.
Yeah.
If you aren't moving, if you're not paying attention, if you're not situationally aware, you're going to die. And there's no amount of pro heals that can stop that from happening.
Yeah, it was interesting to listen to my boss yesterday. He was talking about one of the bosses that they've been fighting on normal in the new patch, and he was talking about it, and the whole time I'm thinking about the T9 fight, the turn 9 fight.
Yep.
And I'm like, that was an original, like, that was a second patch fight in Final Fantasy XIV. We've reached complexity in our fights where WoW is just starting to hit that. Mm-hmm. And now they're starting to get to a point where their fights are super difficult, and it's like, Final Fantasy's already there. And I get the time difference. Yeah. Like, it takes them, obviously, when WoW first came out, they didn't know. Mm-hmm. They didn't really know. They're just kind of like, okay, this is a boss fight. Hit the boss and you win.
Yeah, he has a lot of hit points.
Yeah. But now they're starting to get it, and they're looking at Final Fantasy. They're taking things like the garrison system, which is like kind of like a version of the retainer.
Yep.
They're doing stuff like that, and they're going, oh yeah, we had these ideas too. But a lot of it, I just laugh because Chris tells me, he tells me all these things about WoW that are coming out, and I'm like, yeah, Final Fantasy has that.
Yep. And not only do they have it, they do it well.
Oh, they do it so well. It's so good.
Now, one thing I don't like about Final Fantasy, it is grindy.
It is.
Oh, it's grindy.
But, I mean, it's a JRPG, so what do you expect?
It is a JRPG. And that is where it differs very much from WoW. WoW, it exists, especially in its modern incarnation, as a wonderful long slide uphill, where you're very quickly gaining levels, you're always progressing, you're always making advancements in the game. Not so in Final Fantasy XIV. You could very easily get bogged down grinding for Atma.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Then again, that's not required.
It is not required.
I will say, because that's one of the things that a lot of
You're right. The things that are required to progress the story are relatively easy, except for some of the dungeons.
Absolutely. Here's the thing that's interesting about that, though, that we need to mention also versus WoW. Another thing that I can't recall of any other MMO doing this, the scale down system for playing with your friends. That I love.
It does exist another one, and it's another one we'll talk about later, Guild Wars 2.
Okay.
But, continue.
That's definitely a good idea. Because, you know, when you're playing an MMO, you can't always play with your friends all the time. And so you can't keep those levels consistent. So it's either you all start at the same time and you don't play the character unless all 3 of you or however many of you are together, and then that's how you level up. Or you all make it to the max level and then you play endgame content and that's what you do. See, in this game, you could be a couple levels ahead and it'll scale you back to run dungeons with your friend. You may not get the same amount of XP that you would be getting if you were running normal dungeons, but you're playing with your friends.
But it still presents a challenge, too.
And it still gives you your XP. Like, it still gives you something. It's not like in WoW where you're level 40 and your friend is like, hey, I just started a new tone, and you're like, hey, I'll run you through some dungeons, and you go back and you run through some dungeons, and it's like, you get nothing. Yep. You get 0 for that.
It was a complete waste of time, is what it was.
Absolutely.
And that is one of the great things about the game. But we're going to move on real quick. What is your favorite thing about the game, if you had to pick any of them?
Probably, it's either the fact that I can use a controller is great, but that's kind of obvious, because that's pretty much anything. My favorite thing about the game is probably the versatility in the crafting and the crafting classes and the battle classes. The ability to switch on the fly, I love that.
Yep.
That's my favorite thing about that game, because then you don't need to have an alt.
And the fact that the crafting classes are actual genuine classes with techniques that you have to do.
Absolutely.
Like that.
And their
really
own
cool.
gear sets and stuff like that. It can get a little bit hectic if you do all of them like I do.
Yeah.
Because you can't actually fit all the gear in, or at least you couldn't. You might be able to now, although they've added 3 new classes now.
Oh, boy.
So...
What are the 3 new classes?
Dark Knight.
Right.
Astronomer.
A Dark Knight?
Astrologist. And... Or astrologian, or something like that. And what is it? What is it? It's the guy, he has a turret. What the heck is it called?
Oh,
Machinist, or something like that? I can't remember.
Gun mech, or something like that?
I don't remember. It looked cool, though. I definitely want to play that, for sure.
Well, one day, probably.
Yeah. And then, of course, they added Ninja as well, which was neat. And that's another cool thing about Final Fantasy, with the whole... You have to do 2 jobs. You have to level 2 jobs, or you have to level 2 classes to get your job, which is like Bard, or Dark Knight, or Paladin, Warrior, White Mage, Black Mage, yada yada yada. You have to. It forces you to play 2 different classes, which actually might force you to play 2 different roles. And then you see those roles and you go, "Oh, I kind of like doing this better," and it gets you interested in another class. So you can go, "Okay, well, I've leveled my Bard to 50. I have an Archer, and I have what is it, like Black Mage or something, or White Mage? I can't remember."
Yeah, I think it was White Mage.
And they're Conjurer, I guess.
Conjurer, yeah.
And they're like, and you look at it and you're like, okay, well, what can I do now? And you look at it and you go, oh, well, if I train a Thaumaturge to level 15 or to level 30 or whatever it is, then I can make, then I can be a Black Mage because I have Archer. And I always thought I really liked that, because then it's not as much of a trek for you.
Although, without any quests, it is a trek. It is a trek.
It is to a certain degree, but you could skip a lot of quests. See, I did all the quests, which is kind of a bad idea if you want to level alts, because then you're wasting that experience, essentially. Because
that was the mistake I made, too.
Yeah. But that speaks volumes for wanting to do it all for that long.
Yeah.
Because it does take a little while to get to 50.
I'd say my favorite thing about the game, and it's a really specific thing, is not just the Chocobo remix, which is the Chocobo song that plays when you're riding, but the Fat Chocobos remix, which is just this ba-dum, bum-bum, ba-dum, bum-bum. It's got like a tuba. It's like Stewie Griffin following a fat guy playing a tuba. It's amazing.
You would say that.
It's really specific.
See, and now they've added, like, another great thing about it is, like, they're starting to add the same stuff that WoW has.
The flying mounts and whatnot?
Well, no, not only that, but, like, the diversions from doing just PvP or raiding.
They got the Golden Saucer.
They added the Golden Saucer, which has a whole bunch of stuff, including Chocobo Racing, which is, like, a huge thing. And Chocobo Racing is so fun in that game. Oh, my gosh. I thought it was going to be, like, not fun at all. Like, I thought it was going to be really boring. I loved it.
I'm pretty sure Final Fantasy XI had chocobo racing too.
I'm sure it did.
I don't remember how well it worked because I only played that game for like half a minute. But...
To be fair, the chocobo racing in Final Fantasy XIV is kind of raily.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you're going to have that. There's no way that they could have it open because it's not built as a racing game, so it's not gonna work in real time. You know, it takes a little bit to like kind of you have to.
Yeah.
You really have to hold the stick down to get them to move over and everything like that.
Mm.
But there's power-ups and there's speed-ups and there's the whole stamina thing from Final Fantasy VII that you have, and it was, yeah, I love that.
Okay, well, we've talked about our favorite game on this list, and it really is. We could probably talk about it for a lot longer, but in the interest of brevity, we're going to move on to the next one, which is Star Wars The Old Republic, more commonly called SWTOR. This is BioWare's venture into the MMO realm, and I think they did a pretty good job of it. In typical BioWare fashion, they focused on single-player story and made it feel more like a single-player game that happened to be shared with other people, less like a MMO where there just happens to be a single-player story if you want to pursue it. So your character, like in any BioWare game, is presented choices during cutscenes, and you can pick them, and it changes your personality type, all this stuff. And you get benefits for going extreme one direction or the other. No benefits for not doing that, by the way. That's one thing I don't agree with.
Yeah, because that was one of the things about Fallout that was really neat, is that you could go neutral and you could get benefits for being neutral. Yeah,
and I don't understand it because if you follow a little bit of Star Wars mythology, there's this idea of, well, actually, it exists in the other BioWare games. Revan follows both the light and dark side, kind of, and so he's very neutral. So and he's crazy uber powerful. So why can't I get benefits if I'm a neutral character?
Exactly. Yeah.
Bullshit.
Now, I'd never played any of the Old Republic games before, like Knights of the Old Republic and stuff like that. People seemed really upset when this game came out because it was an MMO. I played a little bit of it. I thought it was okay. I played it when it was free to play, finally.
So you missed out on a lot of the great stuff.
Well, I mean, I guess. But I still got to play the story, and I thought it was neat, but it really didn't offer anything new. I heard that the PvP I heard was good.
Yeah.
But I played a smuggler, of course, because I'm not going to play a Jedi because that's lame.
You didn't want to play a Sith, brah?
No, I'm good.
Zap zap.
Yeah, no, I played a smuggler, and it was fun, but I was just kind of bored by it almost immediately because I kept the trek to get to places where I could get more story was just so long and so boring, and I had to stop and shoot the bad guy with my pistol and wait, and it's just like,
yeah,
okay.
That is the only problem in that game is ranged characters are not that interesting to play as because it just doesn't feel actiony enough.
See, we're gonna go back to Final Fantasy again because the thing that I like about Final Fantasy is that everything that you do in that game feels like you're doing it in real time. Mm-hmm. It never feels like you have to wait for an auto attack, which in WoW you have to do that even early on. Even early on, you don't feel like that in Final Fantasy. You feel like you're actively doing something in the combat at all times.
Mm-hmm. Well, SWTOR had a few cool things that they did with their combat. One of them was this animation thing where if you deflected or parried an attack, your Jedi or Sith would actually move their lightsaber and deflect the blaster bolt or the other attack. It was a pretty cool animation sequence. And I don't know why that popped in my head. I just felt the need to comment on that.
That's okay. That's fine.
So I got into this game. I was blasted drunk one night.
It's a good start for that game.
I lived in a place called Eva Beach in Hawaii, which is a very hot, sunny place. And the evening came around, we were having a crazy drinking party, and I got so drunk I could barely sit up. So I'm laying in my bed, I've got my laptop on my lap, and I'm like, I should download this new Star Wars game that's coming out. Downloaded it, passed out, woke up the next day, and started playing. And it was awesome, because I love BioWare games. I love MMOs, so why wouldn't I love the two combined? And for a while I did. Unfortunately, the time came where I started to spend a lot of time PvPing, because I'd already finished my storyline.
Yeah.
And back then, PvP was really broken. it had one big fundamental flaw, and the flaw was you did a whole lot of Hutball, and there was only one Hutball map at the time. So it was the original Hutball map, and probably 4 out of every 5 PvP matches was Hutball. And that's real boring.
It's got Halo syndrome.
Yeah. It was just super boring, and it was a real killer of my enthusiasm for that game.
Yeah, like I said, one of the big smuggler things, I don't know if you ever knew this or not, but like one of the big things with smugglers is that they have they can take cover and things like that behind structures and stuff like that. But it always feels like you're out of control when you're doing that. Like you hit the button and then you like wait, and your character just kind of like runs up there and then gets down, and you're hitting other buttons and they're not doing anything. They're still in the animation. It's like, okay. Well, I would have preferred it to be. I would have preferred just having the story and just had it. I think a lot of people feel the same way. They would have preferred it to just be another Knights of the Old Republic. And it just wasn't a good... It didn't look good, very nice.
At the time, when it first came out, I thought it looked okay.
Yeah.
If I go back and play it now, it definitely shows its age.
Yeah.
For the same reason that we mentioned before, it's a hyper-realistic graphic style, art style, which means that it shows age very quickly.
Exactly. Because that game came out, what? It's
2012, I want to say.
Okay, so yeah. So it's been only that long. Final Fantasy came out a year, maybe 2 years ago now.
2.5, something like that.
And that game looks like that, and you look at SWTOR and it looks like that. Come on.
Yep. That said, it is a fun game. I love the storylines. Every class has their own storyline. That makes for some pretty interesting stuff. Unfortunately, it all happens in the same general order. But it's still fun, especially the Sith warrior storyline. I think that's awesome, and I think he has probably some of the best companions.
Oh, yeah.
So, we talked about our first impressions. We talked about the game style, the art style being quickly dated. What did you like about the game?
I like that it was Star Wars. I think Star Wars is interesting. Like I said, I like the story. I like the BioWare spin on it. Mm-hmm. I still think it would have made a better single-player game.
Did you know that BioWare actually talked to LucasArts, and they blocked off like this crazy 2,000-year period where they can do whatever the hell they want with the story? Like, it's super far back in the timeline, so nobody really cares about it.
Right, exactly. Well, I'm sure there's somebody who cares about it.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure there's some nerdlinger on the SWTOR subreddit right now talking about how...
Oh, the technology looks just the same. How come there was never any progression?
This is impossible.
Impossible.
If this was a long, long time ago in a galaxy so far away, why don't we have lightsabers now?
What? It's just... Yeah. Star Wars fans, come on.
Yeah, it's okay. You know what? It's going to be fine, because in Kingdom Hearts 3, we're going to fight Darth Vader, and it's going to be the best thing ever.
No, don't say that.
You better make this happen for me, Disney. Goddamn
I want a lightsaber Keyblade.
I want a lightsaber Keyblade so bad. That trailer at E3, I'm going to bring this up. That trailer at E3, I expected Darth Vader to, like, go... and for Sora to just, like... bring out his Keyblade like he does, except for it just like goes and then they just fucking fight. That's what I want so bad. I want to kill Darth Vader as Sora so badly, because I want to see the backlash
from the Star Wars community.
Yes. Oh God, please stop teasing me. And you know what? Better than that, I want to fight Darth Vader with Sora, lightsaber Keyblade, and I want Tony Stark to be the person who helps me fight him.
Oh, that's right. They own Disney too, or they own Marvel too. Damn it.
Yep, the Avengers. The Avengers already confirmed. They're going to be in the game. Very excited. Can't wait. Robert Downey Jr. going to cash in that paycheck. He's going to be there.
That man doesn't need any more paycheck. Okay. So yeah, dislikes about the game. The graphic style's kind of
like poop.
Yeah, PvP was broken.
Yeah,
they've made a lot of improvements. I went back and played it with my friend a couple months ago. They made a lot of improvements. They have a garrison system in it now.
All right, of course, everybody does.
Yeah, right. Now that can be done easily. They added starfighting, not like the rail system that they used to have, but like genuine like 3D field.
Right,
where you go.
Which which is going to hurt other games that are coming out.
Yeah.
That don't have that and should have that.
Yeah. That said, it's not great, but it is interesting and fun. It's just really hard to adapt to. Just remember, kids, the enemy's gate is down. All right. We're going to move on from SWTOR. And now we're going to talk about...
the classic.
D&D Online.
All right. I played this game for probably a week.
I played this game for probably a day.
And I played it. I was going to quit in probably a day.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I was like, oh, D&D Online. Look at all these awesome classes they have. This would be cool. And this was before Monk in WoW. So I'm like, yeah, sweet. This will be awesome. And then I downloaded the game, and they absolutely bait and switched me because they're like, yeah, if you want to play Monk, you have to pay for that. And I'm like, I'm not paying for that.
That's right. It was a free to play, wasn't it?
It's free to play.
Oh.
But only if you want to play like 3 classes. And their bard sucks. Like their bard class sucks.
Well, it's the traditional D&D bard.
Yeah,
that's all it was. And the anyone who played traditional, like AD&D, if you played AD&D, which I think was where we first got our bard, he was not a particularly powerful character. He was versatile, but he was not powerful.
He's not the op bard that we have today.
Yeah. Okay, so really quick, how'd you get into it?
I saw that there was monks in it, and there was no other monks in any other MMO, so I'm like, alright, let's play this game, and it was free.
Yep.
So I'm like, why not? And I thought it was kind of interesting, I didn't get to play the class that I wanted.
Yep. Well, I got into it, my roommate at the time, he decided he was going to play, so I was like, yeah, I'll join you on this little whirlwind adventure. Boo! Boo!
Yeah, I didn't have anybody to play with, so I didn't even make it to the point where I assume there's dungeons in that game.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
played for about 5 hours and stopped.
Yeah, I didn't even make it to like level 10.
It just didn't have the polish that I wanted, which for a free-to-play game, I'm not surprised, but come on, guys.
I wonder how that game's going now.
I hope it's just that. I hope it's gone.
I hope it's gone.
Moving on. No more D&D Online.
That was easy. We just needed to talk about it.
We just need to bring it up and mention that it sucked.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to talk about a game that was kind of a letdown, but not because it was bad. This game was Guild Wars 2, and it was hyped.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My brother used to play Guild Wars 1, and he loved it. He is not a huge gamer.
Mm-hmm.
But
Guild Wars 1 was good.
Guild Wars 1, was like his jam, and he's like, Corey, you need to play this. And I'm like, I'm not crazy about... I wasn't crazy about MMOs back then, because this was before I'd even played WoW or anything, because this was back when I was living with my parents and everything, and I'm just like, nah, I'm not into the whole... I wasn't even into PC gaming back then.
Yeah.
The only game I'd play on PC was Final Fantasy VII. I'm like, I'm not into it. No, man. I'm going to go back and play my PlayStation 2. I'm going to go play Final Fantasy X, games like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into the whole MMO thing. And then Guild Wars 2 came out, and a couple of YouTubers that I watched were playing it, and I was watching it, and I'm like, this game actually looks really nice.
Yep.
I was like, it looks nice. The crafting system sounds so interesting.
Yeah, it was okay.
It sounded interesting compared to
WoW.
At this point, yeah, I'd played WoW, and I had 525 and everything back then because it was Kata, and I was just like, this sounds way more interesting than what I've been doing.
So a little bit of background for you people who may not know. The studio behind the Guild Wars franchise is called ArenaNet. And ArenaNet is comprised of several of the developers from Vanilla WoW who disliked the direction that Blizzard took the game and decided to branch off and create their own little studio. And they made Guild Wars, which was arguably one of the most successful MMOs of the early 2000s.
And they're now kicking their own asses because Draenor has come out and it's made the game hardcore again, and everybody and their brother's like, old WoW's back!
But what they did was they spent a lot of time with Guild Wars 1 in all of its expansions, like all 7 of them. There were a lot. And then they spent all that money that they earned from those games making the MMO they always wanted to make, which was Guild Wars 2. And this game, when I first saw it, it is gorgeous. It has a super stylized art style. Not super stylized, but more stylized than, say, Final Fantasy or SWTOR. It has they completely renovated the combat system. Not really, but they updated enough to it's almost unrecognizable. So instead of having your 10-button attack bar, you have 4 buttons on the left, 4 buttons on the right. The 4 buttons on the left, or maybe it's 5, are bound to the weapons that you have equipped. And you can have 2 different weapons equipped at a time. And you can swap back and forth between them at will. So by doing this, you can create your own combos with your own weapons.
Right.
And that just added a certain depth to the game. You can dodge enemy attacks with like a dodge roll that every class gets. Every class is responsible for healing itself instead of having a dedicated healing class, which means that you can solo with any class that you want without having to worry about getting wrecked in PvE.
Those 3 things were the 3 things that I really took away from it by watching it. Was that the combos, the unique combos, where I was like, oh, that's cool, I like that. Because that makes it a lot different than just auto-attack, auto-attack, auto-attack.
Like, if a mage casts a firewall and an archer shoots an arrow through that firewall, you have a fire arrow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's freaking fantastic.
That's the way that Elder Scrolls Online was supposed to be.
We're not going to talk about it.
We didn't even bring that up because neither of us played it because...
I played it.
Oh, you did?
I played it for a day.
Same as
D&D Online.
D&DO.
We're not going to talk about it. Some things should never have happened.
But yeah, Guild Wars L, I'm still trying.
Guild Wars 2... Corey, come on.
I heard the Daggerfall expansion's coming out
Shut
soon.
up! Guild Wars 2 was fantastic. A big open world like WoW's, although... Actually, no. It was more like Final Fantasies. And that zones were big, but they were self-contained zones.
Yeah.
We're going to mention the level scaling system really quick. You mentioned it for Final Fantasy. It also existed for Guild Wars, except it wasn't just like a dungeon thing. It was based on zone. Every zone had its level range, and every area of the zone had an ideal level range.
Okay.
So like when you first walk into a zone that's level 10 to 20, you should be level 10 or 11, right? So the max level a higher level character can be when they go to that zone will be scaled to level like 13. So you are the max level for that area.
Right.
So when you get to the level 20 area, you'll be, I think they might let you go up to like level 21 or something like that. And it just makes it a little easier for you.
Yeah.
Another great thing that they did that was innovative was their siege-based PvP system.
Mm-hmm. That was a big thing too, yeah.
There's a thing called World versus World. And this has 3 servers competing to control territory. And there's a big central map with 3 branches that are all identical. And the big central map has 3 big bases, as well as smaller outlying fortresses for each server at the start. And then you can conquer using siege weapons to like knock down enemy gates and stuff like that, or enemy walls. Even you can destroy the walls.
Which is something that I think WoW had sort of they had a battleground that was kind of.
I don't remember which one it is. I remember what you're talking about.
I don't remember what it's called.
It's like Isle or something.
Isle of Storms, or
I don't know.
The Dire Straits, the band.
The Dire
or something. Strait of Magellan. It's right off the coast.
Yeah, right?
Of Kalimdor.
Yeah, sure.
1,000 needles. 100 needles. What was it called? What is that?
10 million needles. 10,000 needles. Wait, no, that's a Cactuar attack.
Cactuar thing. Final Fantasy. Boy, is that a great game. Yeah. Bringing it back. Final Fantasy. Best game. Best WoW.
Yeah. Guild Wars 2, I just want to talk about this really quick about it, and then we'll probably close up.
Yeah.
There was probably one of my favorite video game moments of all time. I think I might have mentioned it to you before.
Probably.
My buddy Jason and his guild and I were in this 4-man dungeon, the very first dungeon in the game, and it was called Escalonian Catacombs, I think. And it's hard. It was right after the game dropped, and the game was hard. The dungeons were so hard. It was like raid difficulty.
Nah. For
just a normal instance dungeon. Blew me away. It took us 3 hours to do this dungeon. It was amazing, though. We're just the 4 of us on chat. There's no way we could have done it if we couldn't chat. We're just sitting there bursting through it, like knocking enemies out. getting our asses kicked if we were standing still, because that's how it should be. And finally, we cleared like the second or third boss, and we're walking through this like little tunnel area, and I just hear a rumbling on my computer. And then suddenly, out of the wall in front of us, bursts a cave troll. No warning, except for that rumbling. And all I can think was, from the Lord of the Rings, they have a cave troll.
Yeah.
And for the next 5 minutes, we fought desperately for our lives, and died several times, but were able to run back from the spawn point, while the rest of us continued the fight by kiting.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, at one point, I was the only one left alive. I was a ranger, or a hunter. I don't remember what the name of the class is. I had my pet, and just my bow. And I'm sitting here kiting him around this tunnel, trying desperately not to die or get knocked off. And finally the cavalry arrives and we put him down. But that was just the most desperate but amazing moment in any MMO, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You're rarely surprised by things that happen in MMOs. Even Final Fantasy has that. You can pretty much guess how the story's going to go from the start with that. Of course, they don't make it entirely vague, but yeah, no, that definitely sounds like something that would interest me for sure. Yeah. And I always wanted to get into Guild Wars 2, but I just kind of faded away. I started playing WoW. I stopped playing WoW. Final Fantasy 14 came up, and I was like, well, there can't be anything better than this. This is the best thing ever. And people were on Final Fantasy 14 well past launch and going, this game is way better than Guild Wars 2. It's amazing. Which is obvious. The people who aren't playing Guild Wars 2 are going to say that.
Yeah.
But even still, I was just like, I like Final Fantasy 14. You can build your own house now and everything, and I love that whole thing, which is a whole other thing that we didn't even talk about, with like guild housing and things like that.
At a future date, we may just have a whole podcast about Final Fantasy 14. There's just that much to talk about.
We can talk about the economy and how it's broken. How it's so much more broken than WoW's somehow, even though WoW has the WoW tokens now, and those are like... That has somehow balanced the economy, even though it really should have made it worse.
Yeah. One last note about Guild Wars 2 before we wrap up. It is a pay-and-play. That is, by that I mean, you buy the game, and you can play it forever without having to worry about a subscription.
That's true.
Which was huge. And it dropped August 28th, 2012, so I think I was right there.
Yeah.
And, soon to come... Heart of Thorns, the first expansion for Guild Wars 2.
The first expansion?
3 years later.
Oh my god.
And in that time, it is a living world. So they've just been patching it, dropping new events the whole time. So I don't even know what comes in this expansion. But I am excited and I'm going to start playing again.
That sounds good, man. I would play it, but my computer.
Yeah.
So
your computer could probably handle it now.
I'd like to play it at Ultra, though. And so I'd like a...
That will never happen.
There you go, Ultimate Edition. $99. What do you get for
that? You get standard...
Why are we talking about this on the podcast?
Yeah. Alright, moving on. So, if you're interested in playing Guild Wars 2, check out the expansion. Drops sometime, I think, by the end of this year.
Yeah, you can get Mortimer's Bane Guildhall decoration. Everybody loves that. And only for the...
You know what Guildhall sounds like? It sounds like a garrison.
For the keen price of $75.
Woo! Alright, guys. Thank you very much for joining us on this podcast. I know it was a long time coming. Corey went on vacation. I went on vacation.
I did.
We had a lot going on last 6 weeks or so. I think it's been 6 weeks since we've done one.
It's been a long time.
We are going to try and bring you more. We're actually going to be recording a bunch of them today just to try and...
July 4th! Woo!
Alright, so... Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed our rambling discussion and how much we love Final Fantasy XIV.
Yes.
By all means, check out our next one. It's going to be about MOBAs, Multiplayer Online Battle Arenas.
So, everyone's favorite.
Yay. So, yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me, Oz.
Of course. Every time. I'm always here.
Yep.
Because you come and stay here, and then you're like, hey, let's record the podcast. And I'm like, all right, I got nothing better to do, I guess.
Okay. Have a good day, guys.
Bye-bye.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
Guys.
Bye-bye.